What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? I'm the Godless Engineer, and I critically analyze apologist claims to give you the best arguments and information so that you can stand up and use your voice. Today, we're going to be taking a look at a call from Skeptic Haven. If you would like to, please go down below in the description and follow Skeptic Haven. If you love call-in shows, that is another great place to consume this kind of content. The caller today, John, is from Canada. He's going to be arguing that God is the most benevolent creature or entity in the universe. Punk Apostate and myself push back against this idea, highlighting how not benevolent this God seems to be. Since John seems to adhere to the Bible, he's got a large hurdle to get across in order to make this argument. So if you want to fuck around and find out why the God of the Bible is the most benevolent entity in the universe, then please stay tuned.
We got John from Canada. Said God is the most benevolent being in the universe.
Shit.
Yeah, that's interesting. What's going on, man? John, how we doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good. Hanging in there.
Doing great.
I'm doing well. Enjoying a Sunday?
I am.
Yeah. So what's your evidence for this benevolent God thing?
Well, the fact that we all exist. Plus, it was God that compelled the Christians to end slavery, both in the Bible and in the Americas. Hence the Civil
Okay,
War.
so hold on. Just real quick, God did not end slavery in the Bible. God actually stated that you should go and take slaves from the nations around you. So God did not end slavery in the Bible. Also, your claim that God compelled Christians to end the transatlantic slave trade here in America, that's not even true either, because there were Christians on both sides of that were arguing for their respective wants and needs. So like God didn't compel anybody to do anything, especially not in the Bible.
Actually, you're wrong. It was God who freed the slaves from Egypt, and Abraham Lincoln and the Union were all Christians.
Do you got a Bible with you?
I don't need a Bible. I know the truth.
You don't need a Bible. You know the truth. So just fuck evidence is what you're saying right now. You're just throwing evidence out the window.
The evidence is you. The evidence is you being free, living in the very country you're living in. Speaking to me.
How is that proof of God?
Because God gave you life, full. Sorry.
No, he didn't. You need to be able. You can't just ad hoc tell me, "Oh, God's the reason why you're breathing right now." What is the magical component to me being able to breathe or me living? Like what? How can I know that this is true as opposed to you just pulling something out of your ass?
Because something had to create the universe. It didn't just happen by accident. Plus, I have faith in the Bible.
Well, no. Hold on. You don't have faith in the Bible. You threw the Bible out, remember? You said that you don't need the Bible.
I've read the Bible. I've been reading the Bible for a while now, so I know it.
Oh, okay. Do you have a Bible with you?
Okay, hold on.
No. Answer my question. Do you have a Bible with you?
Oh, he went to get it. I think he went to get it. It's like,
okay.
Go get it. I think that's what he would do.
Go get it.
I do now.
Okay, so you got it.
Okay, good. I want you to turn to Leviticus 25 and start at 44 and read through 46. Huh?
Leviticus 25? Is that where we're going?
Yes.
Is that
Leviticus? That's Old Testament. Not starting off on a good foot here.
Hold on.
I know that one. I know that answer to that. It's Old Testament. You say 25?
Yep, 25, and go to 44.
There it is. I must have already looked this up. It's already pulled up.
Don't worry, I'm going to get there.
Okay.
He's using the old school kind with the pages, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I look. Okay.
Leviticus 1:12. Okay, where are we going?
Leviticus 25.
Leviticus 25.
2, 5, 25.
Okay, Leviticus 25. And which verse?
Go to 44.
25, 44. That's where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, go to 44.
Okay, I'm still following you.
Okay, and I want you to read right now to me
I'm
out of your Bible 44 through 46.
I'm not there. I said I'm not there yet.
It's okay.
Oh.
That's
I
all right.
found
Take it. You okay? You can get there.
Now I'm here. Okay, I'm here. I found it.
All right. Now I want you to read to us 44 through 46.
If you need slaves, you may buy them from the nations around you. You may also buy the children of the foreigners who are living among you. Such children born in your land may become your property, and you may leave them as an inheritance to your sons, whom they must serve as long as they live. But you must not treat any of your fellow Israelites harshly. I just read it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
That's slavery. God is mandating slavery.
Their property. The people are property.
That's very enlightening.
Huh?
You didn't know that verse?
Is this what got you off Christianity?
No. Just to recap here on the conversation. You came in saying that God is the one that compelled the Christians to abolish the slavery in the Old Testament and in the antebellum South. It's very clear here, at least in the Old Testament, to just attack the very first half of your claim here, that God mandated the taking of slaves. And this isn't the only case. Like if you were to find somewhere in your Bible Numbers 31, it directly has God compelling and commanding the Israelites to kill small children and then kidnap pubescent girls in order to rape them into marriage. And
why exactly does it say that?
It says it in Numbers 31, 17 to 18. And there is no concept, there is no modern concept of marriage in the Old Testament. In the Old Testament, rape was marriage.
Rape was marriage? Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
No,
rape is marriage in the Old Testament.
How can rape be marriage? How is that possible?
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you one of the dumbasses out there that thinks that marital rape isn't a thing?
Marital rape? Well, in order for rape to happen, one person consents, but the other person doesn't. And don't call me a dumbass.
Well, right. Well, no. I mean, if you're going to say dumb shit, I'm going to call an apple an apple. No. So in the Bible, there's no concept of marriage as we understand it today. The concept of marriage, whenever they say marry, that what they mean is they take them. And when they take them, that means that they have sex with them. Now, if your entire village was just slaughtered, women, children, men, all of them slaughtered, and then the girls were forcibly taken from their homes and then forced into quote unquote marriage, which is sex with the Israelite men, that's rape.
Oh, thanks for that clarification.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Do you agree that God mandated rape?
I agree that rape is a terrible thing.
Oh, well, your God doesn't have a problem with it. So why do you have a problem with it?
Because it's wrong.
God doesn't think it's wrong.
Well, gentlemen, without God, you can't have a notion of right and wrong.
No. I can totally have a notion of right and wrong. But both Brentley and I here, we can come to moral conclusions about different, actions. That doesn't require God, but also your God specifically said, hey, go and kill all these little kids in this town, take the pubescent girls so that you can force them into marriages, which is sexual slavery. But also what I want you to do is take one out of every 500 of those girls, and I want you to sacrifice them as a burnt offering. So do
What is
you
it?
think that burning girls is like burning girls to a crisp for God to smell? Do you think that that's a good thing?
God doesn't sell people.
Yeah,
People.
God. No. God directly told them, like it says, like in Numbers 31, verse 25, I believe it is. It says, "And the God said unto Moses, do this thing, and that thing is take one out of every 500 of those pubescent girls that they took from that town where they slaughtered all of the people in the town except for the girls. Take one out of every 500 of them and sacrifice them to God."
I see. Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Old Testament, man. You gotta.
So let me ask you this real quick there, bud. Would you ever, if you were in command of an entire nation of people, would you ever command them to go into the next country over, slaughter all the men, women, children, babies, all that, but keep alive all of the pubescent girls, force them into marriages in our country, and then also sacrifice one out of every 500 of them? Would you give that directive?
No, never.
Okay, you're more moral than your own God.
Wow, I take that as a compliment.
You should.
It's a pretty low bar, but it's cool. I get.
But keep in mind that the United States is the only industrialized nation to fight a civil war to end slavery. What do you think caused that?
Well, I mean, sorry, you go ahead, Brentley. I've been
Oh,
kind
no.
of monopolizing.
No, I was just gonna ask. Have you read the secession speeches, man? Do you know why they wanted to secede? They mention God a lot when they're talking about having the right to own slaves in the secession speeches.
Who was saying that? Who on earth was saying that?
The southern states that wanted to secede from the Union.
So they were saying God as a reason to keep slavery in place.
Yeah, well, they were both using God. Both sides of that conversation were using God. The problem is the people that actually had the better argument, if you're pointing to the Bible, were the people that wanted to own slaves, because that's what's actually in the Bible.
How did they have the bigger argument?
If we're using the Bible, they had the better argument in the sense that if we're using the Bible as the basis, the Bible actually says, like you just read, that slavery was okay. I mean, it's actually sanctioned. They were told to do it.
Oh,
The people,
okay.
the other people on the other side of that coin, the Christians on the other side.
So you're telling me the Bible? So you're telling me the Bible was an instruction manual for slavery, direct from the source?
I mean, that wasn't its primary use, but I mean, it definitely has like an instruction booklet as to what is ordained by God to be okay for slavery. Like they couldn't outright enslave their fellow Israelite in the same way that they could enslave a foreigner.
Well, isn't that a good thing not to enslave Israelites?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Define good. I mean,
Isn't it a good thing not to enslave Israelites? Isn't that a good thing?
That's an incredibly low bar, and you're pivoting away from the actual problem, and that's that, there's no good reason whatsoever to ever enslave someone.
I totally agree.
Then you disagree with your God.
I can't disagree with God. He owns me.
Oh, okay. Well, we can unpack that toxic little lunchbox here in a minute, but no. So you definitely do disagree with your God. I've laid out several different ways in which you disagree with your God. We talked about how you wouldn't order an entire nation to go and force little girls into sexual slavery, nor would you toss them on bonfires so that God could smell their sweet savors. There's that way. There's the way in that you you agree with us that there's no good reason to enslave another person. Those two things right there make you morally better than your own God, and it means that you disagree with your God. So, I mean, you can't hold both of those positions. These are literally contradictory.
Okay, I see. Oh, I guess the conversation is over.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I didn't mean to shut down the conversation, but I'm just trying to point out that you definitely do disagree with your God. But I mean, if you don't want to, there's a lot more things to unpack. If you wanted to, we could change subjects, or we can let you go. It's up to you.
Okay, well, I just want to ask one question. You guys seem
Mm-hmm.
so hell bent on criticizing the God in the Old Testament, the transatlantic slave trade. But are you aware of the fact that slavery is happening right now as we speak? It's like a multi-million-dollar business.
Are you talking about the prison system?
Well, slavery in general. You are aware of human trafficking, right?
I mean, I am aware of human trafficking, but I'm just trying to get a sense in what way you're talking about it, because there is human trafficking, but also there's a good case to be made about the poor conditions of our prison system in America. I don't know what it's like in Canada, but I mean, yeah, there's human trafficking now, but I don't see how that I don't see how that helps like our conversation here, because like, yeah, the human trafficking has occurred and seems to have always occurred in one form or another. It's still bad and horrible.
Well, why aren't you upset about that, or about the, as you say, for slavery?
I am upset about that.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you spend more time about that? Why don't you spend more time arguing about that rather than slavery that happened a long time ago?
I really hate this argument right here, because it's like, oh, well, why don't you criticize this particular topic instead of that particular topic? We're here to talk about God, and we're here to talk about why you believe in God and why you think God is all benevolent and everything like that. If you wanted to talk about like
something had to create the universe. It didn't just happen by itself.
that's not true. I mean, there are plenty of things that quote unquote happen by themselves, and typically we call that just natural processes, like them happening by themselves. And natural processes operate in an energy exchange, so it's really just an exchange of energy that's happening, and then there's causes and effects of that energy transferring and changing in our environment. So like that doesn't require any kind of magical magician or anything like that. It doesn't require anything. So like when you say, oh, it just doesn't create itself, you're not actually talking about anything that makes sense scientifically, but also you're not considering the fact that we have natural explanations for these things, and if we have a natural explanation, we don't need a magical one.
Okay, but if you ever consider it's possible, okay, I know that science considers the Big Bang the Big Bang the origin of the universe, but you ever considered that maybe God may start the Big Bang and maybe guided evolution?
I mean, yeah, sure. God could have done that, but then you would need to provide the evidence to bridge that gap between natural processes and God. So like where in natural processes does it require a magician to operate nature?
No, I never thought about that.
Because you'd have to demonstrate an actual causal link from the thing that happened to the thing that caused it, the God, right?
So okay, so if it's all wrong, then that means that all the people who lived and died for nothing.
Yeah, it sucks.
I mean, you say died for nothing. Like, why does every, like, as far as like in the history of organisms and everything like that, why does death have to have some kind of like transcendental meaning to it? Like, I mean, people live and die all the time. That doesn't mean that they have to die for any particular reason or another, like whether it be noble or just a mundane reason for death. Like, I guess I don't understand your specific criticism here as far as them dying for nothing.
I see.
Did you say
Okay,
that they
well,
died for God? The people that died for God? 'Cause that's what I thought it was. So you're saying just anybody dies for no reason?
I have one last question. If God were proven if God was standing right in front of you, would you believe him? Or you would believe, but would you worship him? Or serve him?
Fuck no.
I don't worship stuff, man. That's weird.
I would not worship God, especially if your God was the one that was proven to be actually real, because I feel like your God is a bloodthirsty, genocidal child killer. So, no, I'm not going to worship a bloodthirsty, genocidal child killer. I'm better than that son of a bitch.
Even if he could kill you.
Even if he could kill me, there's no way that I would worship him, even if he had a gun to my head and he was like, worship me or die right now. Huh?
No, it doesn't matter. Continue.
I'm just saying, like, I don't worship things, so I'm not going to worship anybody.
You mean there's absolutely nothing that you worship?
No, I don't worship anything.
Okay. Well, have a nice conversation. Thank you for the conversation. Have a good evening.
Okay.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Brintley, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to dominate the call or anything like that.
No, that was cool. I was glad the way that you directed it back to the Bible and stuff. That was great. Yeah, I wouldn't have known, like, because it was just going with just benevolent. That God is a benevolent God. That was the perfect direction to go. So, yeah, you're good.
Mhm.
That's funny. It's wild, those kinds of conversations when they don't know what like what the Bible says. That's fast. But to be totally honest, I didn't know that. It's when I heard there was this song like it was Propaganda, and they had this song called "Fuck Religion," and I remember it came on in one of my mixes, and there was like all these things that came up, and it was like it advocates for slavery, for sex slavery, and I was like, no, and of course in my mind at the time I was like, they must be talking about Muslims. That's what it is. It's got to be, because that's that's a religion, I guess. But no, the Christian Bible does advocate for both of those, but my brain just didn't want to accept it. So, and then I looked it up and was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard, when you've, you think of this God as such a great benevolent, person. It's hard to wrap your mind around, some of these verses, because these verses are not taught in churches. Like they're not like they don't spend sermons where they preach about it. Well, sometimes they do. Yeah, but I mean, they get in a lot of like trouble when they start preaching about, like how interracial marriage is a bad thing. I actually, the first time my channel ever got taken down was because I put up an uncut sermon of a guy that was making the biblical case against interracial marriage, and it got it went everywhere. It went viral. This whole thing.
Jesus, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's hard to wrap your mind around that. And these a lot of the church people are like pastors and priests and everything. They're not going to teach those things. They're not going to teach those verses, or they'll teach you how to get around those verses.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, because like the one thing, and I don't know if all Calvary chapels do this, but the Calvary chapel I went to, they were very specific about reading like through the whole Bible, like part by part. They didn't do like where they're jumping all over the place or whatever. That kind of prided themselves on that. And I remember, I mean, they would, but they were also good anyway. But they would go back and get the context and shit, whatever. But I remember doing the Old Testament parts, and they would do that thing where they would be like, now it says this, but they were bad. They were evil. Like they were sacrificing kids and stuff to God. So, they would do this whole like rationalizing around it as they're like saying it, or they just say that it doesn't mean what it says. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
a lot of times. But
I mean, and that really gets me whenever they start talking, well, I get that that's what the words say, but that's not what was meant. Like, I'm sorry, I'm just literally reading the words off the page here. Like, are you seriously telling me that the words put in this configuration while they say the horrible thing, they don't actually mean the horrible thing? That's going to be a tough sell. Like, kill all the little ones. Well, God just means tickle them or some kind of bullshit. Like, no, that's not what it. God did. You're telling me God didn't mean to literally kill all of the small children, even the boys. Like, it specifically says that in 1 Samuel 15, 1-3. It lays out everybody that should be killed, and it includes the young and the old, like children, infants, and babies, and all this other stuff. Like, it really gets me when they do those things, when they're like, oh, it doesn't actually mean that at all. It's like, oh, but so you're telling me that God directly saying kill this little fucking kid doesn't mean kill this little fucking kid? Like, I'm sorry, I can't get past that.
That's so frustrating. And it's like, it's not I mean, and I was gonna say, like, if I, were to put my Christian hat on back, what I would have said back then, I would probably say, but that's the Old Testament. That guy was fucking weird. I don't know, man. Like, that's why Jesus had to.
Well,
that's why he had to sacrifice himself.
That's an interesting way to go about it. And typically, whenever that comes up in a conversation, I try to figure out what their theology actually is. And so, like, I would then probably ask, like, okay, do you consider Jesus to be God? And if they say, yes, Jesus is God, okay, is God and Jesus by extension the same in the past as he is in the present as he will be in the future? Like, is he consistent? He never changes. And typically they'll be like, yeah, he never changes. Okay, then the God, Jesus, that you're talking about is the same God of the Old Testament, which makes Jesus also the one that slaughtered all of the firstborn children of Egypt. Is that a good? Would you ever, go in and slaughter all the firstborn children just because some asshole wouldn't do what you wanted him to? Oh, keep in mind, you specifically crafted the situation so that he would not do the thing that you wanted him to do, so that you could kill all the firstborn children. Are you that kind of psychopath? And, like, obviously, it's going to be a no.
Right. And you're right, because that does, and I remember that confusing me like so badly when I would say the Old Testament God was different. There was a different thing going on. But then you get to that verse that you just mentioned where it's like God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, which would be Jesus. And how do you square that circle? I remember messing with me quite a bit. And you're like, I have no idea how to answer this question. It's just like,
Yeah.
Because the Bible doesn't make sense. Shit, I don't know. That seems to be about all there is. But yeah, I remember with the ones that got me to with the saying that it doesn't say what it says was the part where he says, like, you gotta hate your mom and your dad or whatever, and everybody will be like, it doesn't mean that. Jesus, he was kidding. Okay, he was just it's a comparative thing. Really, he didn't mean it like that. But it really seemed like a cult leader thing, right? Whereas, like, look, if they tell you to stop following me, then you need to hate them, because that seems like what it might have been. I don't know. What's your take on that?
Well, obviously, I get what. So, like, it literally saying that is a thing, but, like, I typically try to take it in context, and in context, basically, Jesus is basically saying, like, oh, your earthly family, like your mother, your father, a son, and all that, like, those relationships don't matter. I've come here for to collect people, for them to follow me, and for me to be their family. And through Jesus, like, you get all of these other family members. And so, I mean, I still think that it's a powerful verse to use, because it's very obvious that Jesus came to drive families apart so that they would follow him and become part of his family, right? And through his sacrifice, like, they gain this familial relationship. So, I mean, it still means the thing that he says, but oftentimes they want to act like, oh, well, you know, it's a metaphor for something, and so it doesn't literally mean hate your father. But it's like, if your father doesn't want to also follow Jesus, then yes, it definitely means he wants you to hate your father, to like not have that familial connection with your father because it doesn't matter anymore. So like, I mean, it still says the thing that it says, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah.
All right, heathens, well, I'd love to hear what you thought about several of the topics that were covered in this video. What do you think about slavery in the Bible? Is it there? Is it not as bad as we think it is? Let us know what you think. And also, there was a large conversation around whether or not the marriage in the Bible is actually rape. How do you feel about that? And then finally, how do you feel about this comparison between God's morality and human morality? Do you think that there's something there, like, to compare? Or do you think God is better than humans, or do you think humans are better than God? Let me know what you think down below in the comments. And while you're down there, why don't you smash that like button and subscribe if you like this kind of content.